We then shifted the market again. The core story was very much built for our old market, and it was a fabulous core story. But it was more for people who were going from, working a job, so essentially becoming an entrepreneur, like entering this world.
Right.
And where we ultimately ended up with was more of the, you would still call them, baby businesses. To us, they were much bigger than someone who's not making any money. Now we're looking at people who've been in business 3, 4, or 5 years,
Okay.
earning 100K plus, but sort of plateauing with, the business strategy. Yeah, so we didn't really leverage the core story, but I mean, the same principles apply to, we launched a Dream 100 campaign essentially in 2019.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
So did you, so when you launched that, did you focus on it? How did you find who you were going to target?
Yes. So we had essentially 5 sources, Amanda, and I looked at that actually this morning in preparation for this call.
Yeah.
Because finding the right people for the list obviously is key, right? So they have to be, if you call them the Dream 100, they have to be, the awesome clients that you really want. So first is the list, your email list or our list. So of course we've had a list. We've been building this list for a couple of years, and we really took our time going through the list very detailed to pick out the right ones. So, whether they were past clients or really hot leads that we had talked to a couple of times in the past. So we picked them out first, and then we ran 2 surveys to the email list to say, hey, what's going on in your world right now? How can we support you better? What are you most interested in? We really wanted to, those segment them more. So we were able to pull out even more candidates for the Dream 100. And that was our starting point. From there, we went on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is B2B, right? So it was pretty easy for us to identify people in the right industries. We looked at their profiles. That was a bit more manual because it's sort of one by one by one by one.
Right.
But again, I believe the more effort you put into this in the beginning, the more you'll get out of it later. So really, the results depend on it. So we began adding people from LinkedIn. We also used Google searches, honestly, based on location. So we picked out bigger cities and the keywords that we were looking for, and we found businesses and researched their websites and, who the owner was. We also looked at referrals. So I reached out to quite a few of my colleagues and also past clients to say, who would want to be supported in this way and who was interested in, growing their business, getting better business strategies, and also 2 of the events that we had included in our campaign. I'll tell you more about that later. And organizations. So I am part of quite a few nice business and women business organizations in the US, where, obviously you have access to the members list.
Right.
And I picked some candidates from that. And that's how we were able to create this awesome list of prospects.
Wow. You're such a natural. I wonder if we should just start filming. I don't think I even need to pick out. The last 2 interviews I did were with people that just aren't used to it, or they were just poor interviewees. And it made me like hesitant because everyone else that I've interviewed has been so effortless and easy. And I'm remembering that as I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh, thank goodness I'm back to somebody that really knows what they're saying and communicates very clearly. Oh, it's such a relief. So thank you for making that easier. Oh.
You can just keep rolling and edit later or whatever works for you, Amanda.
Yeah. I think, well, I'd like to start with where you came from. So let me just do a quick intro and then we'll just flow. It'll be simple and easy. Thank you for making my life simple and easy. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Amanda Holmes here, CEO of Chat Homes International. And I have with me today Carolin Soldo. Carolin Soldo is one of the most recognized coaches for women business owners. She's been named the Female Entrepreneur of the Year by the Stevie Awards. She's had her own Inc. 5000 ranked company in the global business. She has cracked the code on women entrepreneurship. She's also had numerous seven-figure businesses, including her coaching as well as manufacturing. Is there anything that I'm missing that you're working on now? Because I know you've shifted quite a bit. Is there something I should mention?
I have two babies.
And you have two babies. What are their names? I know you said 11 and 13, but what are their names?
Well, Anthony and Mateo, those are my human babies, but I also have two business babies, new ones.
I love it. And she's a mom. Yeah, what are your business babies?
So I'm working on Beyond Fulfilled, which is, a high level of personal development community. And it's based on the book I'm writing and this long transformational journey I've been on myself. And, it's sort of come out of me really feeling like I need to share this with the world. And it's got really nothing to do with business. It's all about how to find real fulfillment in life, no matter where you are, what situation you're in. So that's one. And then the other one is a software company that my husband and I have started 2 years ago, and the software has been in development. So we're really, product development, we're building it. And this year it's just now ready to go into some testing and hopefully a launch later in the year. So.
Yes. Well, you have to keep me updated on that. I can't wait to see it.
Definitely. Yep.
Well, I wanted to start just a bit of background so people get an understanding, because I always love the stories of people that come as immigrants and just try to find their way. This is amazing. Can you share a little bit of where you came from and how that influenced you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to make it short. It's a long story, but essentially in 2001, I immigrated from Germany to leave a really troubling past behind and start a new life, but also to be with my husband, Boris. And came here with literally $500-600 in my pocket. And I always like to tell the story of how I sold my car. I had a teeny tiny green car in Germany, and I had sold that car to just get some money in the bank and come here. And that's what we had. So we had, minimum wage jobs for a while. I was a telemarketer, a waitress. Then I went to school. Boris had a minimum wage job too. And we just always had this idea of, we have a clean slate. This is a fresh start. We're smart. And if we hustle, we can make it work. And yeah, so we did. We went to school. I have an MBA. He became an engineer. And then one day he said to me, let's start a business. And of course I said, you're insane. We are not business owners. We know nothing about this stuff. But he talked me into it. And we got a lot of support from the Small Business Administration and from various, government agencies. And we really felt like we were supported in that way. But it was a big jump for us. And, we figured things out along the way. And if I look at how I became an entrepreneur, it really all came down to my willingness to do it without knowing how. This idea of, I'm confident because I can figure it out. It's not confident based on knowing it already. It's based on, thinking whatever comes my way, I can find a resource. I can somehow get it done. I can ask someone, can buy something. And his business is thriving. We launched it in 2006, and it's doing extremely well today. When sort of his business took off, I went into corporate, worked there for a couple of years. Obviously, that really wasn't my path and my destiny. So I was done with that pretty quickly, especially when I had my boys. I really realized that I wanted to make my own decisions, right? Schedule my day the way I wanted to, be with them mostly. But I always had that drive to what else is there for me? What else can I do? Where's my real potential, that challenge? So did a lot of things in the beginning. I had a nanny babysitting matchmaking agency for a while. Then I did health coaching for a while. And eventually I made my way back into business. and helping people start their own business. So my first really successful venture, if you want, was helping people exit corporate and actually become an entrepreneur, which is what I had done too. And yeah, from there we refined, rebranded, grew, and it's so interesting as business owners, we go through so many different seasons and things we want, and how we want to help and add value to the world. And yeah, here we are today. So
I love that. I was getting that same thing as you said, because we've had a lot of business owners just in our most current program that have completely started from scratch after, I had one client that had a business for 120 years and it had to shut down during COVID, and he's starting fresh all over again. So hearing your story, the biggest takeaway I got from that, as you're saying it, is it's okay to change, right? It's okay to adapt. It's okay. Even if you've done it forever, it's okay to make something new and fresh.
Absolutely. And that's really tough. I can't imagine 120 years. That's, family history, right? It's enormous. So I really feel for these people. But at the same time, when you look at, normal people, which we shouldn't even call them normal, but people that have a job, right? How long do people have a job these days? 2 years, 3 years, maybe, right? And then they change. They may feel like, you know what, I've done everything I can here. I've learned it all. I am, maybe bored, or maybe I want more responsibilities. I want to climb the ladder. So they would look for a new job. Sometimes they change completely, what they do. So why wouldn't it be normal for us business owners to do the same thing, to completely pivot our business, to shut one thing down and launch something new? It's tough for us because we've put so much work into it, and it can almost feel like a failure a little bit. I had some of that feeling when I closed down part of my business and I focused on a new market. It's like, because then people ask, why are you closing this down? And why are you shifting? And what's going wrong for you? And are you not successful anymore? And all of that. So there's a little bit of ego involved. But no, I think we should all give ourselves the freedom to do whatever we think is best for us.
I love it. I love it. So we were going to dive into that best buyer strategy. And I love what you were saying about choosing who would be on your list of those top 100. Please, because that seems to be the reoccurring theme for all of our clients, is they really have a hard time finding that first step. So when we have a coach, it's much easier. But for you, what was that like when you had to choose? How did you determine them?
Yeah, so I'm very strategic and I like steps and processes, and that's sort of how my brain works. So we sat down with the team and we picked 5 categories that we applied to our different types of buyers. And we said, let's look at these 5 categories and see what comes out of it. So the first one was, of course, profitability, looking at which types of prospects and customers were the most profitable for us in terms of the programs they were buying and how long they were sticking around and in all of it. So, obviously the business has to make money, so profitability. Number 2 was what I call ease of delivery. And that to me means, how simple is it for us to actually service them? And that could be a variety of different things depending on the industry you're in. For us, it was how much time is involved in coaching them, servicing them. How do we actually do it? Can we do it through Zoom? Is it virtual? Do we need to be on site or not? Do we need to create more stuff for them, documents, resources, and all of it? So the simplicity of actually getting, the service to them. The next one was ease of sale. That is a really, really big one. Like, how easy is it to actually sell them, right? And get them in the door? Does it require this huge, massive proposal? Is it a 6-month decision-making process to even get them in? Or is it pretty quick? Can we decide, maybe even the same day if this is for them or not? And then also ease of sale is how good of a match are they to the services that we have? That makes it simple too. And then 2 more results. So we looked at the clients and we said, which ones are actually getting the best results? Like, what are the testimonials? Where are the clients that we are like celebrating? Like, look at them. Wow, like that's incredible what they're doing, right? Because you want more of those. And then the last one is fun. If you have clients that are not fun for you, you don't want to be there. So who are the people that we love hanging out with, in our coaching calls, and we love having them at events and at retreats. And, looking at these factors, it was pretty clear. We had names on the wall, like, she's one, he's one, and looking at them, they were all obviously, slightly different people, but they had so much in common. So yeah, that's what we did to figure out our dream client.
Wow, how interesting. I love that because it's also, bigger isn't always better, right? We've talked about the Dream 100 for so long, where it's like, what's that one big client that completely change your world? But if it completely takes up all of your time because they're a hassle to work with, then that's not a better buyer, right? I love that. Oh, and then you had also said you went online to find them and you went through your database to find them. I love that too. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So again, there are 5 sources, and I don't know why it's all 5. It just happens that way. But yeah, of course, your list. So everybody should have some sort of database, whether big or small. But our existing email list, including clients and prospects, and so all of that. So we went through that and we picked out, literally handpicked people that should be on our Dream 100 list. So we went to our sales team and said, who are the hot prospects? Who are the people that you talk to that you really think should be working with us? And then once we had exhausted that sort of, hot list, we surveyed the list 2 times and we asked them, what type of business do you have? How long have you had it? How much are you earning? How can we serve you better? What are you interested in? So we were able to segment them more and then pull from those smaller segments and buckets to keep adding to the list. And we went on LinkedIn, and researched. So by industry, by keywords, and looked at people's profiles, looked at, again, their business, went to their websites. We had a lot of help from our sales team. That's a manual process, but I told you before, Amanda, really what it comes down to is the quality of the people on your list. So if you put all of that effort into it in the beginning, your results will be so much better. So it's really worth it. And then Google. Yeah, like you said, we went on Google and we literally Googled people, and there was a lot. We could have made a Dream 500 list. I mean, there's so many people out there. So if anybody says, I don't know where my customers are or how to find them, I mean, seriously, there are all of these different ways to find them. Right? So we pulled from there. And then 2 more sources, referrals. Referrals was the smallest source, I would say, but still some really, really good leads coming through. So I reached out to some colleagues, partners, past and current clients, and said, who fits this profile, who would be someone that we should really be reaching out to and nurturing and adding value. So we use them. And then, organizations. So there are so many industry organizations that you can become part of. They host events, workshops, and most of them you can access their member database and see who's a member, and again research them and add them to your list. And with that, I think it took us 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, to pull that together, and then we had a pretty solid list.
Wow. I love that. Was the most detailed answer I have ever gotten from anybody. Wow.
I think I need to shorten it.
No, it was magnificent. No wonder you run such a successful coaching company. Huh? You did so good at the numbers. Okay. So then what did that Dream 100 look like once you started reaching out to them?
So we made a calendar, and we followed your system pretty precisely, and it included emails, of course. It included phone calls, follow-up calls. And then we also, for the first time ever, really, Amanda, created direct mail pieces.
Okay.
So Yeah, we worked with a local agency in Buffalo and they were super creative. If we used the angle of spaghetti marketing, so marketing and the pain point of not knowing how to market. So we had a menu, a postcard that looked like a menu from an Italian place, and it had like spaghetti sauce splattered all over it. Another piece was an actual spaghetti box, a literal like paper spaghetti box.
Yeah.
So some of the pieces were sort of crazy and you know, out of the box, but
Yeah.
we want to get people's attention and we want it to be smart and clever. So we used that, and so with that we created a sequence of you know, outreach points. So email, phone call, direct mail, postcard, email again. And then we were able to execute it. And it all led to what we called a feeder event. And think of it as a workshop. So in 2019, we had everything leading up to a 2-hour workshop that was live. And then from there, we brought people to our bigger event later in the year, which was a 3-day in New York City. So the Dream 100 outreach was part of us really filling our bigger event, selling people along the way and servicing them along the way, but bringing them from there to a smaller workshop and then to a bigger 3-day event. And it worked really well.
And the 2-hour workshop, was that complimentary, or did they have to pay for that?
That was complimentary. We tested it both ways before, but yeah, so offering that for free worked better for us in terms of show up rate, and really didn't make a difference in terms of conversion. So yeah, so the feeder workshop idea we had used for 3 years in a row, and we tested it different ways, segmenting it by, you know, more advanced business owners, beginners, back and forth, paid, not paid. The year before we charged $97 for it, and the revenue from that really is a drip in a bucket, right? And it didn't really make a difference. So we said, let's just make it free. We're inviting the right ones anyway, right? So we have a great list of people. So let's just, you know, make sure that they actually come and attend. That's the number one goal. And so we made it free.
How did it go for your sales team? Did you build out the scripts? You said that you had followed our method. I know that you were client with us and all of that. So what did scripts look like for your sales staff?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily call them scripts, but messaging angles. Okay. So there was a good deal of training involved and getting the sales team familiar with the sequence of messages and the calendar. They knew, well, the prospect just got the menu, or they just got the spaghetti box, or we just emailed them about this message, so that when they made the calls and when they reached back out, everything was aligned in that flow.
Nice.
So we gave them keywords, pain points, angles to play with based on what was happening with the marketing and the messaging, not necessarily a script, because our team was already familiar with the prospect and they sort of, knew the lingo, the business, and what to say and how to support. And I also believe in being authentic and sort of, using your own style. Some of our reps are really outgoing, some are not so much, some are more dominant, some are more, kind and more shy, but everybody can sell in their own way. So, we gave them those, guideposts based on what the message was at that point in time, and that worked really well.
Interesting. So were you training as you were going along? So this is this piece, let's train on what to say, or did you train a little bit ahead of time? How did that training go as you were deploying?
Both. Yeah. So ahead of time. So really, making sure the team knew what is the Dream 100 and what are all these messages going out and why are we even doing it? So definitely we brought them on board. We showed them the calendar. We showed them the boxes and the pieces and everything. So they knew everything that was going on. But then I meet with the team once a week, and then we have Slack and messaging throughout the week as well. So during our sales meetings, you talked about this is what's going on, next week or the following week. Make sure that you're doing the outreach. These are the phone calls that are coming up for you. So yeah, obviously you're in communication with your team all the time. So you have to just make sure that you are, bringing it to them, reminding them that you're executing it with them, you're on their side.
Right. I'm curious. It's on top of my head because yesterday I was talking to this managed IT services company. They're about 6 mil and they've been doing this for 30 years, just pure cold calling. Their whole business is just cold calling. So for somebody like that, which we have quite a lot of those actually that come in that are just a little bit more in the older school, if you will. How did this process of multi-prong, did you feel that supported the cold callers where there's, direct mail and email, that multi-channel approach?
Well, yes and no.
Mm.
The one problem we experienced was that people, and I don't know how you can get around that. Some people would have said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I never got the piece. And, oh, no, I'm disappointed because I didn't get the box, or, so I guess that happens, right? And so the feedback from the reps was, well, people aren't getting my stuff. They don't know what I'm talking about. But that was, it didn't happen that frequently. I actually think that, so aside from that, I think having a fresh approach is very helpful for the sales team, especially if you're cold calling and you're always saying the same thing, right? And, if I was a salesperson, I wouldn't do it anyway. I would figure out, okay, if I call this company, 6 times this year or more, I need to bring some fresh stuff. What can I say? How can I be relevant? Let's bring in what's happening in the industry. Let's actually add value to my conversation. So having the Dream 100 made the sales team feel like they were bringing new ideas. They were adding more value. They were excited about their calls because they're not just trying to sell. They actually have something of value to say and to give. So I think if someone's using a complete cold call approach, they should have, and I'm sure they do, I have no idea, but I would do it, look at their calendar anyway and say, this is how we're going to frame the script from month to month to month to stay relevant, to not just, and also keep the sales team excited and, motivated and inspired too. So, yeah.
I love that. And when you were doing the workshops, I'm just curious, were they live with a small group of people or were you able to fill those rooms? And how often did those happen?
Yeah, so we did them 2 days in a row and they were 2 hours each. So we had 2 hours, 2 hours. So we had 4 sessions. And we had the max capacity. We did that at the New York City Seminar and Conference Center. I think the room held about 50 people. And we had anywhere from 30 to 40 per session. So not like a huge, room. But it felt big enough, yet small and intimate enough for it to be really, impactful. And then one other thing I did, which I wouldn't do again, but we did that. We brought people from the 2-hour workshop into a 2-day mini intensive.
Yeah.
And I had 10 people in that room, and that was fine. So people paid for that. It was more time consuming than it was actually beneficial in the long term. So I wouldn't do that again. But yeah, the 2-hour workshop, and you can repeat it once you've got it's 2 hours, once you have the messaging down and you know what you want to say and you have slides or whatever. It's pretty easy to execute.
I love that. And you just said something really important, right? That it's something I wouldn't do again. So going through this process, are there any other things that you probably wouldn't do again that you would change?
I think I would probably invest less in the direct mail pieces because they were cute, but we also had some people say that they are a bit wasteful. So sending people things in the mail, there was only one piece that was a complete shocker. It was amazing, but that was above and beyond. So I'll tell you about that in a second, but okay. I think I would do less direct mail. People get a lot of things in the mail and they go through it and they sort of, all the magazines and the things and the letters you get. So the deliverability wasn't as good as we would have wanted it to be. And maybe spend more time designing the digital pieces. So instead of just sending a blank black and white email, although then that stuff sometimes goes in the spam, so you really can't win. But
all have their pluses and minuses.
But since we're so virtual, I think I would spend more time on designing some custom email templates. Putting more time into our landing pages and probably spicing up the virtual or the digital pieces a bit more. We did hire one company. So for the best, the top prospects, we built a box. And imagine the box like a jewelry box. It was big. It was a couple inches high and round, and it was turquoise. And you could open it up, and then there would be a screen, and it would autoplay. And I had made a video, beautifully designed, and sound would go on. And then you could lift up the bottom piece. And we had some shells in there. We had a candle in there. We had some shower gel and stuff in there. So it was like a travel theme.
Wow.
Our Powerhouse program is based on retreats. And before COVID, we would be traveling around the world with people and bringing them to amazing destinations. So it was, all about let's travel and, experience the world together, essentially. And people were truly wowed when they got this box. I remember one guy, he sent me this email and he's like, Carolin, my little daughter adores your box. He had this little 5-year-old girl, and she took his box and she took the stuff out. She put her little jewelry in there and her little dolls, and it was so cute. She had it in her room and she loved it. So anyway, so that we went above and beyond with that piece, but wow. So maybe a few, better designed digital pieces, and then just 1 or 2 big splashes.
Did your sales team do any kind of social touches along with that? Like maybe even the ones that went on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yes. So LinkedIn messaging, absolutely. Through Sales Navigator, we did a lot of LinkedIn outreach and invitations. Actually, through LinkedIn, I think that was our first touch to them. Especially the ones where we didn't necessarily know about their email address and how to reach them. But LinkedIn was the only piece we used. I'm not big on messaging on Facebook, and I'm also not big on DMing on Insta. Instagram may be something that's an opportunity for us. I'm maybe not looking as much as I should there. Facebook, I find a bit, I don't know, I just don't really dig the Facebook messaging approach. It's a bit spammy to me. It's, if someone messages me on Facebook, I usually I like to stay away. LinkedIn is more, it's a business platform, and you're used to getting messages on LinkedIn, and that's sort of, what happens there. But you're right. That's something we could add to it, and that might, bring in even more, people and results.
So that messaging was mostly talking about the, can you give me an example? Because I think majority of businesses go out there and say, hey, I'm a coaching business. I think that's what you need. Let's have a conversation. And knowing that you educate and how well you educate, I'm kind of curious how that messaging might be a little bit different.
Yeah, I think of my messaging in 3 different ways. One is, telling people how to do stuff, giving them strategies, solving their problems. So a lot of the messaging was around fixing their biggest business issues and challenges and using that. Another one was really about the idea of, motivation and hope. What they can have, how to get the inspiration back, how to be motivated, really sort of looking at their potential and especially when they're stuck in business. And then the last one is about what I really believe in. So I like to talk a lot about what I stand for, which is ease and fulfillment. So a lot of our messaging was around how to build in a lot more happiness, how to get your time back, how to build your business with the idea of, making it simple, how to achieve simplified growth, work smarter, not harder, save time, feeling fulfilled. And this idea that at a certain point, many business owners would say, I feel burnt out. My passion is sort of going away. I have to give myself this pep talk every single day, talk myself back into it. And it doesn't have to be this way. Now, I've been there many times before, but I also know how to get out of it. So there's sort of, talking from a place of your conviction and what you stand for. And so you need to put yourself in the shoes of your customer and what their challenges are, how you can give them that hope, that spark, that, pump them up, that, power, and then let them know what you stand for and why they should be buying from you versus someone else. And if someone says, hey, I don't believe the whole ease thing, or I'm the hustle brand, that's fine too. But then at least people know why to go to you versus someone else.
Right. Oh, I love that. And then the call to action was usually just, let's have a conversation, right? It wasn't in the messaging. You weren't saying, hey, I have a 2-hour live workshop. Let's talk about it.
Half and half. So I would have to look back at the calendar, but we had a lot of the pieces as an invitation to sign up for the workshop. Yes. But we also, we had built in some of the, especially when the sales team was making the calls, they would say, hey, jump on a call right away. Because then on a sales call, they could be offering the workshop, they could be selling immediately, right? Or they could also offer the 3-day event that was happening later in the year. So there was a good combination. Most of it was a call. I would say probably 75% was, hop on a call right now. And the rest was based on coming to the 2-hour workshop.
I love that. And you do so much education. You do such a great job of that, right? Your online presence is wonderful. Did you ever use any of that content to send to prospects?
Oh, yeah.
See this video that I just did, or this blog?
100%. So actually, when we built the messaging calendar, the first thing we did is looked at YouTube and said, hey, what videos did Carolin already make that we can leverage again, even the old ones, so that, we were able to minimize the content creation, reproducing stuff. So yeah, you can look at your existing database of videos or emails or, things you have created so that you don't have to make as much new stuff. And then plug that in and then see, okay, where are the gaps? What new videos need to be created? What new emails need to be written? And then create a nice list of, to-dos and start building.
I love that. And everyone should follow Carolin on YouTube as well, because she does such wonderful work there. Is it okay to send people to YouTube, or because you're in this transition, where do you want people to go?
YouTube, absolutely. No matter what it is about, whether I talk about fulfillment and beyond fulfilled, or the different programs that we do nowadays, YouTube is great. I talk about mindset. I have interviews with cool people on there. So yeah, it's carolinsoldo.com/YouTube. It will redirect you there. You can check out our channel and yeah, go have fun.
Wonderful. And can you give one last piece of advice on people that are trying to live a more fulfilled life in their business and, beyond? Because since that's something that you're focused on these days, I'm very curious.
Oh, there's so much. One piece. You need to be clear on what the mission is of your life, and more so really what the primary question is, and whether the primary question brings you joy or not. For a very, very long time, my primary question that I was asking myself on a daily basis was, how can I make more money? And that had given us so much fire and motivation from day one, from $500 selling the little green card to eventually, making the money. So it was always about how can we make more money, thinking this is how we can afford a lifestyle, have kids, and do the things. But it eventually led me to feeling really, really burdened and making the money and then thinking, okay, how much more money do I need? Do I even need more money? Why all this money, right? So my primary question these days is, how can I feel more love? Because through my personal work, I figured out that what I really wanted all along was to mean more, to feel more worthiness, love myself more. So it's been a big path for me. And when I make that my goal every single day, everything becomes so much easier because I'm looking for love and peace, and not for how can I make more money. And simply by shifting that, regardless of how much you actually need to do, you'll experience more ease.
Wow. What a beautiful ending to such a wonderful interview. Thank you so much for taking this time. It was really fascinating to figure out how you deployed your best buyer strategy. And that sounds like that went pretty well for you. Do you know what the result was of that? I don't.
So we generated just over 800,000 at the event in New York City. And I can tell you that the Dream 100 was a huge piece of filling the event. So if you want to tie that together, there is a number for you.
Thank you. That's perfect. It's worth the time and effort is what is the bottom.
The bottom line is that the Dream 100 is a way, of honoring people that are really meaningful to you, that you want to work with. And, instead of mass marketing and potentially having people in a room or at an event that are not, qualified for your services, this is really worth your time and it works extremely well. So yeah, highly recommend it to anybody, especially in a B2B type of setting.
Thank you, Carolin.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
All right.